Welcome to another episode of Off-Road Hub. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for watching. Today, I'm going to get started on something I've been talking about for quite a while now. Now, in case you haven't caught on yet, I'm going to be putting 1-ton axles under my FJ Cruiser. And as you can see behind me, those are the tires. Those are 42-inch Interco IROCs, and they're going to go on these big axles. This is my rear axle that I'm putting in. It's a Sterling 10.5 inch. It comes out of this one actually came out of a 1999 F350. And this is my front axle. It's a Dana 60 out of a 2013 Ford F350. Now these axles obviously don't just bolt up to the FJ Cruiser. They're going to require a lot of work to prepare. I'm doing a 3-link front and rear suspension with 14-inch coilovers, Radflow coilovers. So these axles are essentially just out of the junkyard. I pulled them off a truck, off of 2 different trucks. So they have everything that Ford put on them. That obviously isn't going to work for my purposes. So I need to cut all the brackets and everything off of these and just strip everything off of them so that they're ready to go into a 3-link setup. The Dana 60 is going to take a lot more cutting and a lot more work, so I'm going to start with the easy one, the Sterling 10.5. The first step in this process will be removing the brake lines, and then the brakes, just like you normally would disassemble an axle even if around a vehicle. Alright, well, as you can see, I got a whole pile of parts off of there. All the brakes, parking brake parts, hubs, axles came out. So, if nothing else, the axle's going to be a lot lighter now to move it around. Anyways, now comes the fun part. I get to cut a bunch of stuff off of it. Well, at that rate, this cutting's going to take quite a while. I've heard it's a lot of work to trim these axles. Looks like that's true. All right, as I'm sure you can see, this cutting is tough. Holy cow! I've been using this blade here with these fine teeth, which I've always thought are for metal. It's a Milwaukee brand blade, so I mean it's not a piece of junk. But I went out and bought some fancier blades, carbide tooth for thick metal. So let's see how these do. That is just a lot of steel to sawzall your way through. That takes a lot of time. Well, I was using some Harbor Freight blades, and then I switched over to some Milwaukee blades like that, and then I got the really fancy blade like that. But I just don't think there's any fast way to do that. Maybe you could use a plasma cutter for that? I don't know. It's pretty thick and it's right next to the axle tube. Maybe there's just no easy way to do it. So anyways, I got through those pieces. I think I'm gonna try some grinder for a while. This cutting and grinding is no joke. I went through just a few of these discs, and but I finally made it through, and it looks pretty good. Those are pretty thick pads. The metal on those are pretty thick. Now we're going to move on to the Dana 60. These are pretty thin metal, I mean relatively, and then same on the other side, and then I got to cut off some of the casting over here to fit the Artec truss that's going on there. So, but I'm going to tear it down just like I did the Sterling 10.5. I'm going to take off the big knuckles there and pull out the axles and drain the fluid so that it's all ready to rebuild. the easy part is done. Everything that bolts onto the axle is off. There's a pile of metal over there. The axle is now substantially lighter, which is nice because I can move it around a little bit easier. But yeah, easy part is done. Now it's time to do the hard part. All right, I got that big piece off right there, which makes this much more manageable on this end. So now I can just keep cutting in this direction until I slice everything off. I can get to everything now though, so that's really nice. I'm making some really good progress here on this passenger side. It's almost done over here. And then after I get this side polished up, just a little bit more grinding right there. I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight, but tomorrow comes the hardest part of the whole job. This side, which is crazy. It involves cutting some of the housing right here. That'll be pretty exciting. Anyways, let's finish up this passenger side. All right, if you're thinking about doing this job, it's a big one. It's a lot of cutting and grinding. The Sterling 10.5 is ready to be rebuilt, and the Dana 60 is almost halfway done. Passenger side is done. That's good. But like I said, we're gonna pick it up with the driver's side tomorrow. All right, it's a new day. Let's see if I can do this. This is going to be the hardest, most tricky part of this entire process. I have to cut off these, of course, and all of this. Lots of thick metal there. Very, very thick metal. And then I have to trim off 2 inches of this casting here. So this part is going to be challenging, and it's probably going to take a long time. So let's see how it goes. Well, I'm making some pretty good progress here. You can now see the housing here that I need to cut. A lot of this old mount is gone now. So there's some really thick metal here. It's going to be a challenge to cut through. I probably don't have the best tools for this job. You could probably save some time with a plasma cutter and I don't know what else, but these tools seem pretty minimal. Anyways, let's keep going. So that was probably the biggest single cut on this axle. Huge here, big chunk right there. So basically I just got to trim this out of here, and then we're down to cutting the casing and then grinding. All right, well, this is the part I'm the most nervous about. I've got to cut, I drew a line there, 2 inches out of the housing. That's so that I have somewhere to mount my my link and my shock mount on the actual tube of the bumper here. So, got to cut that out all the way around. I'm mostly just nervous about the depth of my cut. I don't want to go too deep, but I need to go deep enough to chip it off of here eventually. So here goes nothing. There we go. Huh. Look at that chunk. Yeah. All right, well, that went pretty well. We got it all off of there, all the way around. Good stuff. I didn't cut into the axle tube at all, so that's good. So now we're just down to some more grinding. Well, there it is, guys. 2 junkyard axles cleaned up and ready for rebuilding. The Sterling 10.5 and the Dana 60 turned out pretty nice. Nice and smooth. Got room for my link mount in there and everything. So, and over on that side, looking good. We're ready to move to the next stage of this solid axle swap. Thanks for coming along. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like and subscribe so I can share new content with you every Monday and Thursday, and we'll see you next time.